Well, hello everyone. Thanks for coming outside with us today. We're here at the Tethrd Teach and Train tour event, whatever you want to call it. We just got the mobile workshop set up here. Got a whole bunch of rail targets that we're going to be scattering out here along the woodlot, getting the trees set up. This is going to be an absolute hoot of a day. Beautiful weather for it. Couldn't ask for anything better. So we're going to keep setting up here and we'll keep you updated throughout the day. All right, so we are progressing here as we get set up. It's approaching noon here. It's probably close to 11:15, 11:30. Gearing up for the start of the Tethrd Teach and Train tour event thinger. Grant from Hunt, Appalachia is here, coming up from Morgantown, West Virginia. We got Nate from the Budget Sportsman. He's over there somewhere. You might be able to see him. Got a whole bunch of stuff, really exciting. Got a big old 3D moose back here. Hopefully Grant will show us how to one stick, at least the best he can. We have a whole bunch of different demo saddles, and we have here we have a Kong duck, if you're familiar with that. It's like a Ropeman 1. Here we have the Menace saddle. I think it's oh no, that's a Phantom. That's a Phantom there. It's got the green labeling on the inside. Mine's brown, not used to that. Have the Predator XL, huge platform. Got the Nushin. So lots of great demo gear, lots of exciting time. Look at the size of this tote. It's a big tote. So much good gear in there for people to come out and try saddle hunting. So what do you think, Nate?
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be lots of fun.
It's gonna get a little bit wild here, I think.
I think we have right now over 140 registered participants. So it's gonna be an absolute hoot and a holler, but we gotta go look at Nate's tree here. Let's go look at this. This is chaos.
Organized chaos.
Like this, I just want to let people know that this is what it looks like every time Nate and I get in a tree together. Like whenever you see Nate and I in a tree, this is what it looks like. You got the two platforms, Nate's knee cushion, 4th Hero camera arm, at least one bow. You got the GoPro, coming up here on this stick. And then usually you got my pack and all the his straps. I mean, there's 8 feet worth of gear here. So yeah, that's just for 2 dudes for one hunt. And that doesn't even include like all the clothing and crap that we're wearing. It's so much fun. Turkey hunting's way easier.
It's really not as bad as it sounds.
It's not as bad as, well, the thing is like all that weighs like what, 30 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess you don't have the cameras.
Climber weighs 22 all on its own.
Yeah, all on its own. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I mean. I'm talking like that's like 2 men,
yeah,
men worth of gear. Anyway, all right, well, I'm gonna polish off getting the rest of this set up here, and yeah, we'll see you guys in a little bit for more updates when we actually officially start around noon. Oh, okay. Well, I've been to the QDMA.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
Is there 2 or just 1?
Oh, 2. Thank you.
Probably poison ivy in here. Yeah, audio looks fine enough. Okay. So the very basics of saddle hunting. I don't run anything fancy. I run 3 sticks, which I should probably have on. I run 3 sticks, and I do use a single fixed aider just to get a little space. These are mini sticks that I took. These are full-length API sticks. They're like the cheapest sticks you can get. I like having a double step, particularly with big feet. Just works out the best. I cut these down, so it's a 17-inch step spacing. A little bit short. I could easily go 22, 23, being 6'4". But I really only get about 12, 15 foot off the ground anymore. I just don't get as high as I used to. I mean, I hunted out of a climber for over a decade, and I would easily get up to where those dead branches are starting to get too big to break off every single time. And hunting out of a saddle, it's just a lot easier. I'm not scared of heights whatsoever, but it just made life simple. So this is how I would go into the woods, have bow in hand. That's exactly how I'd be each and every single time. This is just a hunter specialty. You can get them from anybody, but it's a bow carrying strap. You can clip it to your bow and clip it around the cam pocket or the limb pockets. Works great for carrying sticks. So when I get to the tree, I can take it off, and I just leave it right at the base of the tree. I don't fart around with taking everything up. What about scent? Yeah, if they're that close to you, you should have shot them by now. Sorry. So I leave that here. I just have 2 buckle straps that actually came with the APIs to keep them together. And again, I just keep them right here on the ground. Like I said, I do have aiders on here, and I do run a rope modification, so I don't have a cam buckle. Nate has API sticks and Hawk sticks. He's a little bit more of a gear junkie than I am. I found what works, and I really like it. So when I come to the tree, and again, everybody's step spacing is a little bit different. I go basically to where my knee is going to come up above the ground, and I know this is going to sink a little bit. Like I said, this is a rope mod. Cam buckle straps are a lot simpler. Daisy chains are a lot lighter, but I like the robustness of the rope mod, but it does have a little bit of sag to it.
Those other 2 things that you said, I have no idea what that means.
Which things?
The 2 before that.
The rope mod, or the daisy chains? Okay, so what's really popular is people will take their daisy chains of am steel rope. This is 1/8 inch am steel. It's super light, super thin, and they'll have it. It'll literally look like a daisy chain, and it's just sections of it. And so instead of having to cinch a cam buckle or put this rope on, you would just bring this around, and you would have different holes set to the different diameters of the tree, and you would just loop that over, cinch it down, and that's what it is. Problem is, I always found myself in situations where I'd be in between holes, and I'm either too tight or too loose. And when you're too loose, and particularly on a small stick like this, the moment you step on that sucker sideways, you slide 3 or 4 feet. You're tethered in the whole time, but it'll scare a little crap out of you. So, so rope mod, and I won't even get on him yet, but that's perfect height for me now. So now at this point, I can figure out the rest of my stuff. I'm using I'll just take it off. This is the 3V Gear Outlaw 2 Sling Pack. I really like this pack. I like the sling pack. It allows me to move it around my body when I'm not wearing a microphone. I'll do it when I get up there. But it also has a water bladder port in here. So I always carry 2 liters of water. I'm huge. I get dehydrated easily. I only have 1 kidney. So I have to drink a lot of water. So having a pack with a water bladder is a must for me. On the side here, I do have my tether. We'll see that when I get a stick or 2 up the tree. I have the original Predator platform in its Predator pack. So the 3V gear is nice. It's all EDC military base, so it's a lot of MOLLE on the outside. You can MOLLE 47 different packs off of this if you really wanted to. I like the original Predator over the XL because it's smaller footprint. I have big feet, and I still get onto the Predator platform just fine. And when I get up the tree, I'll show you how I maneuver all this around. On the side here, and this people get all fired up about. On the side here, I have inside a retractable gear hoist, and it just stays with me at all times. I burned a hole. I heated up an Allen key using a lighter, burned a hole here and melted it in this PVC. It's a real tough tent-like material. This retractable gear hoist is made by a family member who passed away, so it is no longer in production. So sorry, you have to go find your own from a different company. But I clip it up here to the top because this will sit here and jangle and clank off stuff. But at this point, I would take it off. I would leave everything on my back. I wouldn't even fart around with taking it off. Unclip it, clip it to my bow, and then it'll just come out as I go up and down the tree. Okay. Quite often I hunt with Nate, if you've seen our channels together. And that retractable gear hoist, if you do hunt with somebody, is a huge godsend because you can just set it down for bags and camera gear and whatever else you need. In there's also a little hook for when you do drop stuff out of the tree, which you will. You can clip that hook. It's a giant, basically a giant turtle snagging hook that's illegal in the state of Pennsylvania. But I just take it and file it off the barb and the point, and I can pick up hats, sticks, camera bags, whatever I happen to drop. How are my levels doing? Oh, I'm good. I'm still have audio. I didn't bring spare batteries for my wireless packs. We'll see how this goes. Okay. So I would be clipped in at this point to my bow, and now I'm ready to start ascending the tree. So here I have my lineman's belt. I always wear the saddle in, and I should probably put it up a little bit better. So this is the Phantom. It's my favorite saddle. The Manus was great, but having the adjustable bridge is awesome. It's like we're having a second belt. And I would usually just take this tag in and tuck it into a cargo pocket or something like that. And it's so lightweight and so compact. It's just really simple. I daisy chain every farting rope that I own. It just gets it out of the way. So this is a full lineman's belt that I've got daisy chained here. And I just go hip to hip with it in the lineman's loop. I have a Prusik tender on here. So I don't have to run a mechanical ascender like a ropeman one. I do run a ropeman on my tether, because once you're 200 and some odd pounds and you sit on a tether and you sit on a Prusik up there, good luck trying to get it to unbind. It's just nigh impossible. So I always run a ropeman up there, and I run a Prusik here on my lineman. So like I said, this is daisy chain. So I've got over 8 foot of rope here. And so now that just comes apart just like that. It's really nice, really convenient. So I'm a little bit of a wild man. I don't put this on at the base of the tree. I get up onto this first stick. If I fall, I should have paid better attention. But trying to fiddle fart with a lineman's when you're just trying to get in the tree is really difficult. So here's that aider. And sometimes I don't do an aider. So this is another thing. Because it's a fixed aider, I don't have to use it. Like, it's not a movable aider. Some guys use movable aiders, but you have to use it then. And if you drop it or if you lose it, then you're kind of screwed. So I like having a fixed aider for that reason, because sometimes this, let's say I'm only going to get 8 foot up. I can use all 3 sticks and get 8 foot up if I really want to. Speaking of which, I almost forgot because I haven't done this in a while. On the side of my saddle, I have just paracord loops, and I'll loop my sticks in to get up the tree. Some people will take multiple trips. They'll do more than one. I just like to get up the tree and be done with it.
You're not worried about a deer being spooked by the gator?
That's actually a really great question. I had a buck I shot in 2018 who was chasing a doe around my tree, and I know she caught the aider. I know she did. And I actually was using using blue 7mm accessory cord, and I had a chunk of garden hose on the end of this thing, big green garden hose. And she looked right at ground level, kind of looked up the tree, saw me sitting up there and was like, eh, and then just went about her day, and I ended up shooting the buck at 12 yards. So, I don't know, I just keep using it. This is like old kegerator hose, old beverage hose. I like this a lot more than garden hose. Garden hose is cheaper and easier to access. We all have a blown garden hose somewhere, but when garden hose gets cold, it gets loud, and it will clank off these sticks and it will sound almost like metal. So I like this beverage hose more. It stays soft and really pliable, and it doesn't make a noise, and it kind of grips onto the rope too a little bit and stays in place. Okay, if I could stop fighting with this, that'd be great. This is 1/8 inch am steel. So yep, so at this point, touch all the poison ivy, and then I can go ahead and do my lineman's belt. Like I said, you can do your lineman's belt on the ground. There's no problem with that. I really like the Phantom for its huge lineman's loops. So it's just, you don't have to fiddle fart around with it in the dark. And then having this Prusik tender, I can just move this in, or I can release tension. Right, you can have that rope and that mechanical ascender, but a Prusik costs you pennies, and that mechanical ascender costs you 50 bucks. So you can save a little bit of cash there. So I'll come up here. I'm gonna go up 2 sticks here, because I'm probably out of view of camera. So I really like a double step stick for this exact reason. Like, Lone Wolf makes great sticks, but having 2 feet on here to stay stable is really nice. I could almost hunt like this. Like, you could literally almost saddle hunt like this if you had a short enough time. You wouldn't even need a platform, but it gets uncomfortable after a while. It's because of the pressure on your feet, and also depending on the size of the tree. Like, if you have a smaller tree, you can kind of get around the tree a little bit more with your feet. But here I'm at a full 90, if not 100, 110 degree angle here. And it's just your ankles will just start screaming after you after a while. So for step spacing, it's always where my knee's gonna end up. So on the top stick here, sometimes guys will start, and I always did too. You'll put it up here, and then you realize you have like a 4-foot step spacing. So going down here, then figuring out where your knee's at is a great place to start. I know I'm gonna have a little bit of sag in this rope mod, so I'll set it just a touch high. And if it's cold outside, like if it's late season or if it's gun season, here in PA. I will set it even shorter. I'll set it back to like a 17, 18 inch step spacing. Yeah, you won't be able to lift your leg. I always think back to like when I was a kid and I would like put in like the old screw in tree steps without a lineman's belt and I'm like gripping. Oh my gosh, what was I doing? Talk about sweating and talk about like I should have died at least 15 times. All right, so at this point now I'd be ready for, at this point, let's just say now I'm at hunting height, platform height. Here you can play which side of the tree you want it on. I'm gonna pretend the deer's over here on my strong side because of course I'm a right-handed shot. So at this point, that's why I like this pack. I'll just release that. I can swing this around and now everything's right in front of me. So I really, really like this pack for that reason. I know Ernie from Tethrd, he'll do like the full like Robin Hood, like pull it off. Holy mackerel. You try to put your Predator pack back in there, it's not gonna happen. This is a really tight fit. You'll never get it back in. So I'll just get my tether up and out. It's gonna be way too low here because I'm gonna be stepping up into my platform here, but I just get it off the bag so it's out of my way. But at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get my Predator out. And it's best, sometimes if I'm feeling frisky, I'll adjust this to like kind of eyeball the height, or the diameter rather, but sometimes I find that I just end up shooting myself in the foot. So just make it long. See, it didn't even make that one long enough. And careful you don't grab the end of your lineman's in there. Ask me how many times I did that last season. All right, so at this point, got that bit in. I like a little bit, Nate likes it really deep. He likes a real steep angle. I'll just use a little bit of angle here, just helps it bite into the tree a little bit more. But if I need to step off with the stick and play with the angle, I can later. So obviously it is, well, not the same day. I've come up here as the first time I tried to film this. I went out of frame and answered a whole bunch of questions from people, and I was trying to demonstrate stuff in the tree, and I forgot to tell the people on the ground, hey, can you check to see if I'm still in frame? So I busted out the camera arm. We're doing a trial run for hunting season. This actually looks pretty solid with my camera, and so I have written out a whole bunch of questions here, and hopefully I can answer them and pan the camera around, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's start right here with the hist strap. I have a video on the hist strap. If I remember, I will link it down in the description below. But as you can see, if I actually bring the camera around on this side of the tree, you can see, oh, if I hide from myself, you can see here how I have it attached up with this piece of cord. So I have it up here with this loop system, and the bow is hanging off of the hist strap. Whether or not you buy the Tethrd specific hist strap or you make your own, like I have done here with a little DIY method, either one is perfectly acceptable. What works out really well. Really like the hist strap. Question number 2, flip around the pack. So when I climb up the tree, I do use the Tethrd Predator pack here. So I do have the ability to keep this in here. When Ernie from Tethrd uses this pack, he like reaches over his back, over his shoulder, like it's a Robin Hood type thing. So he'll keep the pack on his back, reach over, grab it, pull it out, attach it to the tree. But the problem is then using a normal backpack, you have to put that Predator pack back in like you're putting a quiver or an arrow into a back quiver. I don't like that. So this is the 3V Gear Outlaw 2 Sling Pack. Again, I've done videos on this before. It is a fantastic pack and allows me to swing the whole pack around my chest, access whatever I need out of these pockets, camera equipment, releases, in this case the Predator pack, and then I can swing it back on my back while I install this. Also, all right, so on this side of the Predator platform, you see my cam buckle down there, and on that cam buckle I have adhesive back felt. This is the type of stuff that they would put on the undersides of lamp posts, or excuse me, lamps that go on pianos and coasters and that type of stuff. Very nice, a good high pile. It's not as micro suede finish. It is a little fuzzier, more like a tennis ball than compared to stealth strips, but it's excessively cheaper. And not only is it a lot cheaper, you can get it in a much larger roll. I put it on sticks, I put it on platform pieces, camera arms, whatever you want to use with the stuff. Comes in a litany of colors. This adhesive back felt, you can cut it to fit your needs, and it works really well for deadening. It's not going to make it a perfectly quiet scenario, but it makes it a lot quieter when it goes and hits off something like this platform. All right, so let's talk about tether height, because this is a big thing when it comes to saddle comfort and whether you sit or lean into the tree. And I have a great video on playing with all these rope angles. I will link that in the description below for finding all-day saddle comfort, or at least for 6, 7, 8 hours, you could really find all-day saddle comfort. So when I stand up completely on my platform, you'll notice that my tether ends up peaking around my collarbone to chin height, which is a little bit lower than most people. Most people run like a bridge of nose to forehead height. I tend to lean like this more than I sit, and that'll be a question in a moment. But because I lean more, I find that lower tether height and this shorter gap from where my tether peaks into my bridge with my Ropeman 1 here, this is really comfortable for me, and I feel tight into the tree. If I was going to sit more, I would more or less put this up higher. Doesn't have to be much higher, maybe closer to that nose, and then I would give myself some room here, pull out my Ropeman, come down a little bit more. Now I have a greater length and I'm further away from the tree, and now it's easier for me to sit than it is to lean at this gap here. So now I can come and sit into the tree, and I have much more scoop now. I've decreased this angle here. It's a much tighter, more acute angle from the tree to the rope, and this really allows me to sit very comfortably. But when I go to lean, however, I'm now much further away from the tree than I was originally, and when I like to lean to shoot, I feel very, not unstable, but I don't feel as stable as when I can be nice and tight to the tree with my leaning. My knee goes right into the tree when I go to shoot, and it just makes it a lot more comfortable for me. So I'm going to bring this back up, lower this back down, and notice, I mean, I'm moving at 4 inches, 3-4 inches at the most here. And just that little bit of adjustment, is all you need to really seat yourself in and find that comfortable spot. You don't have to change by 8 inches to a foot. Just a little bit of change should be right on. Next question, do you lean or sit more? I find that I lean more. Sitting is nice, in particular there's a cameraman where you guys are right now. Nate from the Budget Sportsman's often there on my right. We'll come in and lean into the tree to speak with each other, and then we'll come back out in order to continue on with the hunt. But I find leaning for me is much more comfortable. With my legs, I will often lock one leg or the other and shift all of my weight onto my platform, one side or the other. It's very comfortable for me. Or maybe I'll put one knee into the tree just to give complete break to my foot and my ankle, whatever it may be. But I find that I just kind of pivot right here and change my hip pressure side to side, and I can do this for solid 3, 4, 5 hours without any sort of major change to my tether or bridge length. Here's a big one that I'm very passionate about. Is saddle good for a bad back in terms of like lumbar discs and that sort of stuff? And I will definitely say it 1000% is, and particularly for me. I have 2 really bad discs. I think it's like S5, L1, whatever that is, right there on that peak of the lumbar. 2 very bad discs. I see a chiropractor and a physical therapist, and sitting down in a hard chair, like a hard wooden chair at my kitchen table, or on a very thin cushion on a metal platform for a tree stand, is very uncomfortable on my back. That straight tree, there's no lumbar support. Here I can kind of almost like I'm standing, right? I can keep that pressure into my backside, and then I can keep that S curve in my back to allow for my lumbar to have all of the release of pressure that it needs to have for me to stay comfortable. So I spend a lot of time leaning to save that, and it really has helped me in the back. I was in a tree stand, I was basically standing the entire time. I was almost never sitting down anymore, just due to that discomfort. Another one, will you move through the hunt a lot, like in terms of shifting? I will, but it's minute, right? So I'll go from, dead end of the tree like this with both feet kind of having even pressure to just turning my hip this way. put a lot of pressure into the left side hip, and then as I'm throughout the hunt, I will switch to the right side. I'll put a lot of pressure onto the right side, just like when you're sitting on the couch, right, watching a football game. You're going to move around in your easy chair just to find those pressure points and just get a new feeling when you're sitting. It's no different here, and it's not that difficult or uncomfortable. You see that, you know, the am steel of this Tethrd Phantom in particular slides through a carabiner very easily. This takes almost no effort whatsoever, and it's very easy. Just have a little, like 1 to 2 inch tweak can make a world of difference. Here was a fun question I don't really think about. What is your hardest shot? And I say that I'm a little bit different than most people because I have no problems taking my bow off of my hook system over here. I have no problems what I call doing the rainbowing it over the bridge just like this, and then stepping across and shooting over the bridge this way. I have no issues with a shot like this. Now, of course, the camera arm is not where it would be, right? I would hit the camera arm, but obviously it wouldn't be facing me, it'd be facing the deer. But I have no problems coming over the bridge and coming across this way to shoot. I don't mind the drop shot. The drop shot's not bad for me, which would be me staying on the strong side, coming, and then turning my back to the camera and shooting back in behind me. So I really have the cameras, you know, approximately at the 3 o'clock range, 4, 5, all the way down to 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to noon. Probably the hardest shot is right here around like 12:30 maybe. And that's just because it depends on if I can get around the tree. If I can get around the tree over here on the strong side, I can cover that, obviously no problem. But I do like coming on this side of the bridge because predominantly you're going to set up for obviously this strong side shot right here, right? You're going to set it for 11 all the way down to about 8 o'clock. When you're setting up for that potential weak side shot and coming over the bridge, that's predominantly because the deer has come this way, but then it took a left when you thought it was going to take a right. And it's coming across and taking left, so I have no problems waiting, because often it's going to be too far facing forward or quartering towards. No problems waiting for it to come all the way back in behind me, if it, you know, if the wind direction will allow it, or just simply waiting for it to get to 3 o'clock, coming across the bridge right here. Nice easy shot. I will often put my knee into the tree just like so for a little bit of extra bracing if I need to, or if it's necessary. In this case, because of the size of this tree and just that angle there, that's actually no problem for me to stay away from the tree, lean away, just pivot my hips, come out here and execute that shot. This is a fun one. How do you pee out of a saddle? Well, this one's pretty straightforward actually, and it comes from just a little bit of movement. If you can fit your shoulder, so at this point I need my tether to come over here. I'll swing you guys out this way. At this point I do need to move my tether up, so I'm going to loosen my ropeman, pull my whole tether system up so it's at least shoulder high. Sit back into it till it seats a little bit. I'll move this up. At this point, my pack is here and it's secured to the tree. It's not going to go anywhere. So I feel very confident that what I can do here is I can grab up onto my tether, and I'm going to pivot and turn and put my ropeman right around, like I said, around my shoulder height here. So I'm going to grab and pivot. I'm going to pull. Notice I'm pulling on my tether to keep that tension. And now, because I've maintained that tension, this is very comfortable. Now I can relieve myself out the back door here, down at the 6 o'clock time frame. If you want, you can stand like this, but your platform has to be at the right angle. If your platform's really far down, some people like their platform angle really far down, this becomes very uncomfortable. I like a little bit of downward angle, so this is plenty comfortable for me to take care of business. But then when I'm ready, all I have to do is, or when I'm done, I can just continue to maintain tension. Never let your tether go slack, not because it's dangerous, but because it'll freak you out a little bit if it moves on you. Maintain that tension. Nice and easy pivot. I'll just move this down. I have my Magnus bow pod sticks here because I'm 2 feet off the ground, so I just had my sticks here. Those usually wouldn't be there. Again, maintaining tension now. I can pull myself up. Now I can lower this. I'm now maintaining tension with my own arm into the tree. Bring my ropeman back up here. And I can return to my normal leaning position, having relieved myself. Wow. Do you find yourself off balance or harder to shoot out of this versus a tree stand? And the answer is no, and predominantly because I will put my knee into the tree a lot. And I always talk about this. My pack's probably going to be in the way here. But what I often do is I'll put my knee down into the tree here, and then I will pivot off of that knee. So for my strong side shot, I will often pivot off of my left knee because that's on the side of my strong side of being a right-handed archer. And so I can pivot around this way towards you, towards the camera, towards 3 o'clock, because, you know, 9 o'clock is my strongest shot here off to my left. And if I was going to pivot all the way around the tree and do that drop shot, I would go right knee and pivot all the way around towards the camera. So my backside would be at 3 o'clock and I could easily shoot that 6 o'clock. It's a lot of 90-degree angles when it comes to saddles. Just a lot of simple playing it safe, playing it simple, and playing it easy. You don't have to have these wild, outlandish movements. This is probably the biggest thing. You know, when you're in a tree stand platform, you're moving around, right? Very little steps. Saddle platform's the exact same way. You don't want your bridge and your angle, I alluded to this earlier, you don't want to be clear out here away from the tree. Now your movements are much larger to cover the same amount of distance around the tree, and now you run the risk of moving too far too fast and working yourself off your platform and out in a direction you don't want to. So this is why, and then also when I go to put my knee into the tree, I'm more in that sitting position, which I don't want to be. So for me at least, and probably because I have long gangly arms and I like to lean a little bit more than sit, I like to sit tight to the tree, knee to the tree. It's very simple. And then I just use that knee as a huge fulcrum and pivot point, and it makes my shots feel incredibly safe and incredibly comfortable out of a saddle. So somebody asked then, really, are you finding yourself putting yourself into trees where you do have a 360-degree shot angle? And the answer is no. This is predominantly, this is just like a tree stand, right? So you're finding that you're setting off that 90-degree slice, right? So from noon to 9, that's all the strong side shot here. Then you have your secondary strong side shot. Then you have your total weak side, right, is on this side here. On your right-hand side as a left-handed archer, or excuse me, on your right-hand side as a right-handed archer, because of course you're holding your bow with your left. Just like out of a tree stand, you're picking deer movement to be out here. You're not picking deer movement to come back in here. You still have wind to think of, right? You still have the thermals and all those factors, where the food source is, where the bedding and the trails, blah, 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 blah. So really, I don't find myself getting all these amazing shot angles. Predominantly, they're all right out here in front of me, and they're predominantly in that 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, right out here in front of me. Sometimes they'll come back in on the backside, but I think every deer since going into the saddle that I've shot has all been from 3 to 9 o'clock out in front of me. Excellent question here. Do you have comfort in full layers like bibs and all the packed on merino wool and all the underlayers? And the answer is yes. I've had zero issues wearing the thickest bibs. Carhartt bibs is what I predominantly wear when it gets stupid cold. I've worn this out of the IWAM series, which is super bulky in the layer system. Zero issues whatsoever, no extra added hip pinch. I just kind of have to relax the belt a little bit more when I get up here because of all the bulk. But outside of that, there is nothing extra in terms of discomfort that comes from wearing full layers with the saddle, at least for me. And I'm about a 36 to 38 inch waist, depending on the cut of pant. The Phantom goes out to 40. So you throw on those layers, I'm definitely pushing that number when I get into that late season. How much then throughout the hunt do you adjust your bridge and tether length? Throughout the hunt, not very often. Throughout the season, pretty frequently. So again, when it comes to sitting versus leaning, the type of tree that it's on, but predominantly the only thing I will change from hunt to hunt, or at least during the hunt, is finding the angle. So this is a very straight little maple tree here. There's no lean to it whatsoever. But let's say that I was leaning towards the camera on this side. I would take this peak where the actual girth hitch is, and I would move it away from the lean. I would put it on the right side of the tree. You'll see now it automatically wants to pull me to the left, and I would put it on the left hand side here to fight the gravitational pull of the right side lean. Vice versa, if this tree was leaning to the left, if this tree was leaning towards 9 o'clock, towards my bow over here, I would put my tether at 3 o'clock here, or at least on the right side of the tree, and you see it now really wants to take me to the right. So that's to fight the lean of a tree. I will sit here and play with that throughout the hunt if the tree has that lean to it. But quite frankly, here in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of this new growth type stuff, stuff that's 20, 30, 40 years or less. It's normally very smaller diameter. It's very straight, and I don't really have to lean. Unlike some trees over here, like you see this big red maple over here, you see that quite hard lean to it. Predominantly, we do not have such trees that we're hunting out of. We'll hunt close to them because they have acorns, but not in them. Do you feel that the extra step around the tree is necessary? I think it's necessary if you want it to be necessary, and that's the comfort level that you have. So some guys, depending on the size of the tree and the size of their physical body, again, I'm huge, I'm an anomaly. Some guys like to put an extra step on the 3 o'clock or the 9 o'clock side so they can pick their leg up, set their step, and then they can pivot around the tree easier. I don't personally use that, but I think it's great if you want to use it. Some guys will just put their foot on top of their platform and use that as their pivot point. Again, I like the tree, but I have super long legs, so even when I put my knee into the tree, I'm still probably further away from the tree than the average guy who's 6 foot and less. I think it is excessive to go platform and a full ring of steps. Greg often talks about from Tethrd, he talks about basketball-sized trees. This is a little bit smaller than that one, or about the right size. And like I said earlier, a lot of our small, young growth forest has trees about this big, particularly up at hunting height. So predominantly what I just do is I just kind of pick a tree that I can easily work my way around it. Again, I like shooting over the bridge. I pick a tree that I can easily work around, but I can still play peekaboo from the deer, right? So again, strong sides over here. I'm going to use my bow as camouflage. I can use the tree as camouflage, as cover, and I can easily work my way around this tree. Deer's out here. I see it. I'll work my way around this tree, and I will look between my bow and the tree here. I'll track that deer, and if I see it's going to come over this way, I'll pick up my bow and move it. If I see that it's going to make a hard right turn or a hard left turn for it, I'll come over here, I'll grab this, I'll rainbow it over, and then I will reposition and I will start, again, now the deer's on this side, I'll start pivoting away to play peekaboo over here. And again, it's gonna be hard quartering towards me here. It's gonna be perfectly broadside at 3 o'clock. So I'll wait till it gets to that, that 1, 2 o'clock, I will draw. It'll come up at 3 o'clock, and then I'm able to execute the shot safely and effectively. It's all about playing hide and seek with the deer. Whether you're wearing camouflage or not, using a big tree, small tree even, just giving you that breakup of your outline, sometimes that's all you need. This is an excellent, great rookie or someone who's brand new wanting to try saddle hunting question is how secure do you feel? Because this looks freaky, right? This is an 11mm static line, and you look at it and go, that's all that's holding me to this giant tree. Well, 11mm static line has as much, if not more, braking strength, and same thing with the Am Steel, and the Robin 1 has way more braking strength, or just as much as a normal tree stand would. So the thing that I enjoy about this is that I prefer to climber over a open shot style tree stand, like hang on, predominantly because I've always had this firm connection to the tree with the climber, right? My weight is what's keeping the climber to the tree with its stabilization straps. But there were times where you stand up and your 4-point harness goes slack, and you're kind of sitting there in open air and you just don't feel all that comfortable. For me, this constant tethering into the tree, my lineman's belt, it's constant pressure. My tether then, when I go from lineman's to tether, is constant pressure. There's never this moment where I'm not kind of in, right? I'm not kind of putting my butt into the swing, and I have this very incredibly strong rope into a very incredibly strong tree, and I just feel this constant weight of connection. There's never a point here where you just kind of have that open moment of slack. And like I said earlier, even when you go to relieve yourself, if you keep this pressure here, you constantly feel like you are permanently attached to the tree. So I feel incredibly secure, even though it looks kind of freaky. I think another reason why too I feel very secure is I don't get very far away from the tree. I don't hang out very far. I lean in very close. I stay very close. But everybody has their level of comfort that they do and don't like. But this is a perfect level of comfort for me. Do you get higher up in trees? Do you get lower in trees? And do you find yourself hunting trees that you never did before? Well, hunting with a saddle, you obviously are hunting with sticks, and so unlike a climber where you got to have it straight and no branches in the way, that opens up that possibility. But I find myself now getting in smaller trees that usually a climber would have issues climbing. This is a good climbing size tree, but I getting trees half this size, about 8 inches in diameter if necessary. And I find myself getting lower and lower to the ground. Not because I'm afraid of heights. I mean, I've climbed 25, 30 feet in trees for years, no problem whatsoever. I've bungee jumped, roller coasters, the whole kit and caboodle. It doesn't scare me at all. But what does get me now is because I'm able to pick a different style tree. One's got a little curve to it, one that has a tree right next to it, one that has branches in the way. I'm able to get into lower canopy moments, 8 to 12, 15 foot off the ground, and I can get into the canopy. Again, I can play peekaboo with the deer. I'm not a lump sitting off the side of the tree. Remember, tree stands are on the opposite side of the tree from saddles, right? You have to have that tree stand facing where you want to shoot the deer. So now you're just a lump on a stump on that side in the wide open. Now I'm over here, I have the tree as concealment, so I can get lower to the ground, play hide and seek, play peekaboo with them, and I can pick trees that have better foliage right around me, and I can really tuck myself into a nice little pocket. So I do find myself getting lower and trying out different trees and different styles. Sometimes it's out of necessity, and sometimes because it's just a really good option for where I'm hunting at that moment. Well, that's all the questions I have. Back to the original Nate on the original day doing the original wrap up. No, I take it with me. I'll climb down. I should probably stop being up here. So now it's just an inverse. At this point, bow would come off, it goes to the ground. If I'm hunting with Nate, usually he goes down with all his camera gear and I just kind of sit up here and wait. So I make sure that all my weight is into the lineman's belt. This has gone completely slack before I unhook it. This allows me to store. A lot of guys will run dump pouches on their saddle. I just don't like the extra, because I do a lot of walking, a lot of public land hunting, and I could be a mile, 2 miles, and that's just a lot of extra weight. I just don't like around my waist. Much rather have it across my hips and my back and shoulders. No, I'll drag it out. I know people are like, oh, you should quarter it like a cool person. I'm like, no. Nate does. Nate's funky like that. I don't touch it. I would take, because I have two carabiners. I would undo my tether that I was sitting into, and I would hook it in, put all weight on it, and then take this one off, go under the branch. It's time consuming, but it's not worth falling.
Use the tether as your second.
Yes, as my second lineman's, yep. Yeah, it's time consuming, but it's not worth falling 12 feet.
Which I have done.
And I will never, yeah. I've fallen about 4 or 5 feet before, coming off the stick, and that was no fun. So like I said, Ernie goes over the back like he's Robin Hood. I can't do that. So having the sling pack, I can just twist this around. If you're wearing a normal backpack, you could do it too. Yeah, if you wanted to, you could drop gear. Just drop it straight to the ground. If I'm close enough to the ground, I'll do that with a stick because the ropes are pretty long, they're about 7 foot. So sometimes this second stick here, I'll just drop that to the ground because I can easily alleviate it. Yeah, because if you drop something from 15 foot, I spent money on it. I don't want it to. No. I mean, it does make some noise, but it's pretty quiet. But no, like here, when I get off this stick here. Yep, is getting your foot into it. That's exactly right.
So you have some knee issues, you maybe make the 8er shorter. So
You make the 8er shorter. Yep, some guys.
Get as high, but it's easier to navigate.
Right. So sometimes I'll twist this up and put it in the loop, but I'm so close to the ground here that I'll just take that and I'll fart with that when I'm on the ground. Particularly if it's in the dark. Often here, before I step off, I will take off my lineman's belt because I'm only about 3 or 4 feet off the ground, just like I did when I came up. Just gets everything out of the way. And that's that. So I used to take my my lineman's belt and I would run it real short off of the lineman's loops, like a second tether, but then I had this 8-foot tag end. And then I would clip that second carabiner into that second mini bridge, but I just didn't like the tag end. It was not fun to daisy chain. So I just daisy chained up the whole lineman's belt. and clip it in. And then sometimes I'll clip it into that daisy chain because that won't come apart because it's still together. Or I'll just clip it into the one side of the lineman's belt. It's just there for, so my wife sleeps better at night. Let's just put it that way. So you guys are welcome to try any of the demo gear. We got that tree, my tree will be set up. There's saddles over here. I'm gonna take mine off. You're welcome to wear mine, I don't care. As long as you don't have razor blades in your pocket.
Oh, you're the one who signed it.
Hydration bladder. The only time it's going to go anyplace.
Way there for you so you don't get pinched in. Okay, and then, yep, and then what I do is I find a comfortable tension for this. Yep, then do exactly what you're doing. Lift up the pack to get it to where I want it on my back. And then go ahead, yeah, you gotta crank that sucker down. Yep. And then that is good for me, stability-wise, for a mile or two, right?
Feels good. It's like not going to sway around. Like
No, there's no sway. If they did not have that stability strap, it would be garbage. I've been tempted to add a kidney belt secondarily to even add the extra, but it's so good for me right now, stock, that I just don't want to monkey with it. Yeah, the 3V Outlaw 2 Sling Pack. It's literally, I told him, I wrote to him, I said, listen, you guys like accidentally made like my favorite pack for saddle hunting, and like they're all geared towards, you know, everyday carry, hide guns into things. And yeah.
And then everything else I bought from Tethrd, they came out with the new version.
And that's how he's getting 7 feet.
Yes, exactly.
I spent entirely too much time on YouTube in the last year.
Okay, so I'm going to use my big boy outdoor teacher voice. We'll start with the keychains and stuff.
Kind of midday, and he was like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere. And I got down, was walking through the woods to the new spot and showed you here for a while.
Those are singers.
So technically, he still had a saddle on, and so he technically...
Oh man, so we're back to the basement. Got the bench put back together. Everything's out of the truck except for the demo crate. That will be headed off to Tethrd on Monday. Oh, what a day that was. Thank you so much to everybody who came out to the Tethrd Teach and Train Tour 2021 in PA Furnace. I hope that there will be a 2022. But anyway, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. The event ended at 6, so it's been a long haul day. And I'm just going to keep rambling on to the end of this video if I don't end it. So I've been up for way too long and now for way too late, and I've completely forgotten how to do my outro. So I hope you're able to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation. Thanks for watching. I'm Brandon McDonald.